use something that is very close to the Ethereum virtual machine. In the middle, with rootstock and Binance Chain, you have different approaches with something that is working close to how Bitcoin works, and something on top of it that is close to the Ethereum virtual machine. And on the right side, you see other initiatives that have said, like, well, this way of dealing with transactions and smart contracts and having a virtual machine on top of your blockchain is cool, but maybe we should try another virtual machine. So that's what blockchains like EOS, Cardano, and so on tried. But hey, Ethereum, as I said, was full of drama and full of events, full of joy also. And everybody has been expected Ethereum 2 rollouts for quite some time. The proof of stake transition was a target since 2014, since the very early days of the white paper. And so as to commit ourselves to delivering this proof of stake, the Ethereum community implemented the difficulty bomb. Difficulty bomb means that every now and then the block difficulty grow exponentially. And the consequence of this growth is that it's super hard for miners to find a nonce, and the consequence for the block time is that blocks get rarer and rarer. So on this chart, you see the normal block time. It's 15 seconds between blocks, and whenever the difficulty bond kicks in, we can go up to 30 seconds in terms of block time. So waiting 30 seconds between each blocks, and that's a lot compared to the standard that we have on Ethereum normally, which is around 14.3 seconds or 15 seconds. And that's how the delays materialize themselves. First off, in October 2017, we had to do the Byzantium hard fork that pushed back the difficulty bomb. So it was EIP 649 that you see on this chart. And once again in February with Constantinople, and once again recently with New last year in January 2020. The next one should be in July 2021, but by then Ethereum 2 will be there. Maybe not full-fledged Ethereum 2, but Ethereum 2 will be there. And if you're interested in understanding why we had to do all of those delays and why it was so hard to deliver something like Ethereum 2, you should read History of Casper by Vlad Zamfir, 5 edition of this article. Very educating on why it was so hard to deliver proof of stake, the Ethereum version. But so far so good. The Ethereum 2 specs stabilized in early 2020, and we are getting close to the start of the Ethereum 2 itself. So coming up next, Ethereum 2. But what is it? It's very difficult to get into the details and explaining, for example, how people are drawn as validators, how the random number generation is handled, what is the protocol communication between shard and so on. But if you want to have an image, an easy to understand image of what Ethereum 2 is, I love the image of this wooden brush. And I said wooden brush because since it's proof of stake, it's a more friendly for the earth. It's ecologically friendly. It's proof of stake and it will consume less energy to run the blockchain. So you have this wooden brush. The wooden part is the beacon chain, some kind of coordination layers, and all the hairs of the brush are shards of the blockchain. So the Ethereum 1 proof of work blockchain will be one layer of brush plugged into the beacon chain, and every other shard that Ethereum will roll out will be another row of brushes that will be coordinated with the beacon chain. Every shard of the Ethereum 2 chain will have its own shard substate, meaning that all accounts will be of the shards will be recorded in this substate. All the smart contract happening in this shard will be recorded in that substate, and shards will communicate between themselves through the coordination layer that is the beacon chain. And when you get a sharded database, hence sharded blockchain, you can reach level of scalability that we have never seen before in the blockchain space. And before we get into the final state of Ethereum 2, we have to go through a couple of phases. The first one will be the rollout of the beacon chain. That's what we are expecting pretty soon, with the deployment of a deposit contract. So letting people that have Ether on the proof of work Ethereum chain right now, letting them deposit some of their Ether into a contract and make it so that those Ether will appear into this coordination layer, and this coordination layer will start. So that's going to be the phase 0, with the first milestone being the deposit contract. The second phase, called phase 1, will be the shard chains, and that's what we expect for early 2021, with the launch of the first shard at the start of the cross communication between shards, and letting the Ether that are in the beacon chain move between shards. So one should understand here that proof of stake itself will start with phase 0, with people depositing Ether on a deposit contract and being able to participate in the beacon chain. But before phase 1, the Ether that will be on the beacon chain won't be able to move back to another shard. So when you are participating to Ethereum proof of stake in phase 0, your Ether are locked until they are allowed to move in next phase. And finally, we get to phase 2, the full-fledged Ethereum 2, with a new execution environment on each shard. We will move away from the Ethereum virtual machine as we know it right now, to something that we call EWASM, for Ethereum on WebAssembly. And WebAssembly is a project of having a very well optimized virtual machine living in each browser. And I'm super excited of this one, because it will let people compile and create smart contracts in various languages, as well as bringing lots of optimization into how smart contracts are executed. And also phase 2 will introduce the flexibility in terms of setting up new charts. So maybe UTXO is a good way of handling a shard. That's typically what will be potentially possible to do in the phase 2. But for what concerns us right now, and right now being the next weeks or the next months, will be the deposit contract. And that's what every single one of you that is interested in participating should be getting ready for. So I'm not in charge of deploying this contract, but I think that it will happen in early October. And since early October, people will be able to use this deposit contract and deposit 32 Ether for one validator. So the principle of Ethereum 2 is that if you want to stake, the minimum and maximum that you are allowed to stake is 32 Ether per validator. So you buy yourself a validator ticket for 32 Ether. So if you want to become a validator, you need to interact with this deposit contract, send to this deposit contract 32 Ether, and add to this transaction 4 different arguments that are quite important. The first one is the public key that you will be using to validate. It's going to be a BLS key, so a new format of key compared to ECDSA that we know very well in the blockchain space. So a new type of cryptographic curve will be used there. So you need to generate a BLS key. You need to generate another key that will be your withdrawal credential. So you generate this key and you hash it, and you add it to your interaction with this deposit contract. You hash everything together, so your public key and withdrawal credential, and you get the deposit data route. And finally, you sign those credentials with your BLS public key that you have as first argument. And that's what you need to do to interact with the deposit contract. Have 32 Ether and be able to generate those 4 arguments, which means that you need to have a way of generating and signing with those BLS keys. And that means that wallet providers need to adapt themselves, need to get ready for it as well. And right now, the Ethereum Foundation provides you with a command line interface to do that, and clients that roll on that works on Ethereum 2, such as Prismatic Lab or Sigma Prime and so on. They also offer you the possibility of generating and managing those keys. So first off, do your transfer, create your withdrawal public key, your validator public key. Wait for the deposit contract for the transaction on your deposit contract to be in the blockchain, and then wait for the beacon chain to observe your deposit. And once your deposit has been observed, you can start mining. You can start staking by rolling out your Ethereum 2 nodes and connecting to your Ethereum 2 nodes your wallet containing your validating public key. Here, only the validating public key will be used at first. So whenever you have to sign a block, whenever you have to propose a block, you activate this validating public key. So it's kind of a hot key, right? Compared to the withdrawal credentials that will be used whenever you want to move out of the beacon chain. And if you've been listening to me carefully, the withdrawal public key will only be used at phase 1 whenever Ether are able to move from one chain to another. If you want to exit the validation, so you don't want to stake anymore because it's too complicated for you, or you have do not have a good connection and so on, you can sign a transaction with your validating key, and that will exit your validator from the beacon chain. But once again, once you've exited to the validating state, you won't be able to move your Ether before phase 1 again. So what are we doing at Ledger to help you with this? Well, we are getting ready for Ethereum 2 on our hand. The last release of the firmware update of Ledger Nano X, we added a small change. If you looked at it carefully, we added cryptographic support for STARK 256 and also BLS 12381. So that's the curve for generating BLS keys. And so right now we have the first foundation on our devices to let you create those keys. And we are now working on making sure that you can properly interact with those keys and do cool things with this. So if you have Ledger Nano X, don't worry, Ledger get you back. And if you have Ledger Nano S, we're also working on it for making sure that you will be interacting with this. And if you are one of our clients on the B2B side and you are using Ledger Vault, we are also getting ready for it. So will it be difficult for you to stake? Well, you should try it out. The design philosophy of Ethereum 2 is to make it so that the layman can use this and run its own node. It can be run on the Raspberry Pi 4. We have tutorials available on the internet for this. And here is a screenshot of my own node. It's a Core i9. Well, you see the reference here, and you can also see that it's not super heavy on CPU usage or memory usage, hence why it's possible to run it on the Raspberry Pi 4. And whether you run one validator, so 32 Ether, or 10 validators, so 320 Ether, it doesn't really impact the CPU and memory usage of your node. So you should be able to be your own node, basically. And if you want to look at how much you may expect in terms of yield, there are a couple of calculators out there. I've been using this one, even if it's not super duper precise in terms of the calculation, but that gives you a sense of what will be the yield for someone staking. So the reason why I don't think it's super precise is that if you stake 33 Ether, it considers that the yield should be applied to this extra Ether out of 32. Even if in reality the extra Ether that you deposit have zero impact on your staking reward. Only the first 32 does. And if you want to earn more, you need to go up to 64 Ether and have 2 validators. But anyway, apart from that, the reward calculator is working okay. And the main main arguments, the main parameter here is how much ETH will be staked among the whole Ethereum supply. What percentage will be at stake? And if we look at this parameter here, 0.6 is roughly the minimum number of Ether at stake before the beacon chain can start. So if very little people stake, like the minimum people stake, you can enjoy a return on investment of up to 18%. So that's pretty cool. But if, say, 10% of the total Ether circulating supply at stake, as you can see, the ROI drops slightly. So there is a first mover advantage here. And if you are considering staking, you should really look into it and get ready. Because right now, the multi-client testnet started yesterday, and it's at a very smooth and successful start. And many tutorials are already available for you to try it out and try to roll out your first node and connect with the rest of the community that can help you out with your technical difficulty potentially. And if running software is too complicated, or having a computer open 24/7, or having access to a broadband connection 24/7 is too complicated for you, you can still try to profit from this because there are prediction markets on Ethereum 2. So you can bet on the outcome of whether the phase 0 will launch before 2021, whether the deposit contract of Ethereum 2 will be deployed on Ethereum 1 mainnet in 2020, or what months will the phase 0 launch. I'm particularly pushing for the one circle in blue because I started this prediction market. So if you bet on it, I'll make some profit as a liquidity provider. And as you can see from those numbers, I updated those numbers 2 weeks ago, so they moved a little bit. But I think the yes probability of the will deposit contract of Ethereum 2 be deployed on Ethereum 1 mainnet 2020, I think the yes probability is right now around 76%. And if you sum the different percentages here in front of the months, you get close to 80% chance that Ethereum 2 will roll out before 2021. So it's super exciting. I'm super excited, and I hope that you are excited by these new chains as well. And here's the whole rollout timeline. The multi-client testnet was supposed to launch in late July. It started yesterday, and it's going well. You should try it out. And right now, the mainnet beacon chain launch is scheduled for October, November. My personal guess is that it will be in the first half of October for the deposit contract, and for the beacon chain itself, it should follow, I think, in late November. And hopefully 2021 short chains, and 2022 will get the phase 2 state execution as a whole. And I'm gonna stop it there to leave it to if there is any question in the audience, please shout. I have the discussion panel open, and I think we got maybe 2 or 3 minutes left. 4. One, two. I think I'm still live. So if you have any questions, feel free to share them on the chat. I'm looking at the chat right now. And while there is no questions, I'd like to thank Sonia for the invitation and Bitcoin Events for organizing this. Oh, here's a question from Manuel. Will the deposit smart contract in Ethereum mainnet 1 be moved over Ethereum 2? Will all smart contracts be moved to Ethereum 2? So the Ethereum deposit smart contract will be on Ethereum 1 mainnet. That will be the first. And interacting with this deposit contract will make your Ether appear on the beacon chain. So there is no plan on moving this smart contract, this deposit smart contract from Ethereum 1 to Ethereum 2, because this smart contract is actually the gateway to Ethereum 2. On your second question, will smart contracts be moved to Ethereum 2? So there are currently a couple of options on making those smart contracts move to another shard. So you have to keep in mind that this at the start of Ethereum 2, at the beacon chain start, the Ethereum 1 mainnet that we currently know, the proof of work mainnet, will be a shard. So whenever we get another shard, the question will appear that, well, should I move my USDT smart contract to the shard number 2, or to the shard number 3, or to the shard number 4, and so on? So there are options considered onto how should this migration appear. It's likely that the smart contract initiators will be able to migrate their ERC20 contract from one chain to another. Another option will be that we get a communication going between different shards. So you will be able to have the USDT contract from shard number 1, from shard number 2, from shard number 3, from shard number 4, and so on, and have the coordination layer act as a bridge between those different chains. So I think that different user to either migrate or not between different shards, but the incentive to move to another shard will be quite high, since each shard is its own blockchain connected to the rest of the shards through the coordination layer, and consequently way less congestions will appear on the various shards. So as a user, you'll be able to have your transaction integrated in the blockchain cheaper and faster. And I think I'm out of time. So if there is no other questions, I'll leave it there. You get my contact on. You have my contact on my. It's back on. So if you want to reach out, I'm kind of easy to find. At Tychey on most social media. Feel free to drop me a message and come to chat. Always happy to discuss about security and how to have fun on Ethereum. Thanks so much, everyone.